6th on Blaze Radio.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Nicholas Welter here in the Bill Austin Radio Studio. You're listening to Bottom of the Sixth here on Blaze Radio Online. Again, I'm Nicholas Welter here alongside Noel and Jackson Nelson. What's going on, guys?
ASU won another ball game this weekend. They beat Utah.
Yeah.
By 20.
So that's what we're going to start with?
Yeah, we can start with ASU football.
it
sounds like a good topic to start with, especially after, such a statement win. At one point it was 30-3 against a good Utah team.
That's probably what the score should have been.
Yeah, but
especially with how well the defense played. Like, ASU's defense is really stepping up lately. It's really impressive to see. We saw J.J. Wilson, the former tight end turned defensive player, linebacker, I believe, has got a pick six. I think that's got to be pretty sweet for someone who has never really practiced or played defense much in college. He probably didn't in high school. But being able to come on like a huge D1 stage like that, especially for a team that is now kind of making a push towards a bowl game, is huge.
No, definitely. I thought that the defense was outstanding, and although they did give up that little touchdown at the end, it was just domination all around. And special teams looked great. Both lines looked outstanding. I thought, although Balaj wasn't the lead rusher, Richard, he did a great job. Yeah,
you can't tackle DeMario.
Yeah, no. DeMario looked awesome, and he had that touchdown run, and it was just a great week and another momentum-building win for this big matchup this Saturday.
Yeah, let's not forget about Brandon Ruiz. We love special teams here.
Love special teams.
Yeah, love special teams, and he had a very good day, especially in the first quarter. He had 3 field goals alone, and there were a couple 40-yarders, which was pretty nice.
One was 47, one was 40.
We know he was one of the top recruits in the country for kicking. He originally committed to Alabama, but then he decides to come here, so he's really kind of showing what he's got, and field goal kicking, especially coming down when we're getting some close games, could be really big for ASU. So if he's hot, it's going to be a good look at the end of the season.
I definitely think this was a swing game for them. You know?
Yeah.
And, I don't think anybody thought they were going to be 4-3 at this point of the season.
No way.
I know, we certainly didn't. And so I guess it just makes me pose this question to you guys then. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but has Todd Graham saved his job for how long? How long has he saved? Because, I would argue that he's at least saved it for the rest of the season.
Yes,
I think he saved it for the rest of the season, but he has not quite saved it yet. Still...
For next year?
No, not yet. Because it's still only 4 wins. I think 4-8 still going to look ugly, especially now if we drop the last 5.
Okay.
ASU drops the last 5 games of the season. That's going to look horrible.
I agree with you.
I think with, obviously, some huge wins against Oregon and Washington, but they still need a couple...
Hey, Utah's a good win.
Utah is a good win.
There's Salt Lake City's a hard place to play.
There's no slouches really in the Pac-12, maybe besides Oregon State.
And we get to play Oregon State, which
right.
is if we
get
lose
to play them.
Yeah,
that game's in Corvallis. The last time the Devils were in Corvallis, they were the 6th ranked team in the nation, and they lost.
Oh,
that was back in the 2014 season. I was a senior in high school.
That's a bummer.
But I'd rather play Oregon State than Washington State. Although Washington State lost,
and if there's a team in the Pac-12 we would want to play right now, I think it'd be USC.
At home, for sure.
Yeah, Sam Darnold is obviously he's leading the FBS in interceptions, but he got squashed last week against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame looked amazing against USC, and that also is showing how legit Notre Dame is, but that's obviously not what we're talking about, right?
I am not a fan of Notre Dame football, but somehow they managed to squeak their way back up. They're almost in the top 10, and it's killing me, and I want them to lose.
We can talk more about the rest of the field, I suppose, after this weekend, because the first college football playoff rankings come out after this week.
Exactly. Yeah. That's going to be nice and fun
personally,
to
I think
see.
if Notre Dame goes 11-1, they make a strong argument to get into the playoff. But I kind of want to go back to this Todd Graham thing because it's important. And at the beginning of the year, I even was bringing a little Rich Rod. I know we're ASU Sun Devils, but talking just Arizona sports in general, both Graham and Rich Rod were on the hot seat, and now their teams are 4-3 and 5-2 respectively.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jackson, you say that Todd Graham hasn't saved his job for next year. What would that look like?
I think
for him to save his job for next year, because next year's his last year on his contract, and so he'd be looking for an extension after this season. I don't think he'll get it, but unless something dramatically happens where we go 9-3 and win the Pac-12,
I think obviously if he wins out, he's keeping the job.
Well, they'll be 9-3.
I think that's a little bit of a stretch right now for ASU.
Are you sure? The record is, or the
But
rest
you
of the
have, you have to
schedule
think
really.
about how it's not just the schedule itself; it's how some of the teams play. I think ASU's gonna have some trouble against U of A's running offense, which is all they do with Khalil Tate's speed and their good backfield. But I think no matter what, if he wins his bowl game, I think that could save him for at least another year. And we have to remember about how big we have to think about how big the buyout is for him. ASU
10.25.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. So I think ASU is not going to want to fire or jump the gun too quick. So I think with a bowl win would be a good thing for them to have behind them for keeping him on.
No, definitely. I think winning 2 more games and getting to that bowl, like securing a bowl, is the main thing. And I think the 2 main games probably Arizona and Oregon State are the 2 big ones that need to be wins. Like, we can lose the rest of them.
I think winning the home games are the key.
Okay.
I think if they end out going 7-5
yeah.
and just winning the last 3 home games, I think that's huge because that's a win versus USC, Colorado, who's another really good team, and U of A, who is another really good team.
That good.
They've been good this season,
game.
right? But that's also a problem for us is we have to stop their run.
It's true. But I tell you what, man, the way the defense has played the past 2, I honestly have not recognized this football team.
No,
completely
This
different.
is my 3rd year here at ASU, and the past 2 years, the past 2 weeks have been how I came to ASU expecting to see them play. And up until then, the first 2.5 seasons of ASU football, I've been severely disappointed.
And I think that's what we should expect as students at ASU is to have a top tier program with all this money that's coming through this school that's going into sports, with all the students that are here. You think this should be one of the powerhouse programs, not just in football, but in basketball, in baseball, and you name it. I think this is going to be a good turning around. I think these huge wins will be big for recruiting, especially for Todd Graham. If he can keep his job, we know how easy it is for someone to recruit when you have a consistent coach. If you fire him, there's a possibility that ASU could lose some recruits.
Yeah, definitely. And although this is a little tough, it's a tough stretch coming up, and USC is the main little hump to get over.
But I don't think it's as tough of a stretch that we just got through.
I think Jackson's got hit the nail on the head with that one. I think that we just went through our murderer's row.
I mean,
with
we talked
Oregon,
about this
Stanford,
earlier,
Washington, and Utah. And I would include SC on that, but they're not as bad. They're not as good as everyone as advertised at the beginning of the season.
They're still ranked. They're still number 21.
Yeah, but for me, I think he's got to beat USC. He's got to have another statement win.
That'd be
because
huge.
Otherwise, then the past 2 weeks seem like a fluke.
Yeah, ASU has to. They really do have to kind of solidify.
Keep this momentum going.
Yeah,
they have to show the rest of college football that they are legit. They got a couple ranking votes this week. There's 2. They got 2
coach poll.
Yeah.
2 votes in the coaches poll, but that's something we definitely did not think that was going to be a possibility this year. So I think to use that momentum to get up and win some more of these games, it's going to be massive for the Sun Devils.
And also, Arizona got 6 of those 6 votes in the coaches poll, and we're that close to getting past them with a win against USC. And if Arizona drops one soon, I mean, we could gradually move up.
Yep. Keep in mind, too, this is the first week of the college football playoffs coming out. Rankings, CFP rankings. And that's a completely different set of people than the AP writers and the coaches poll.
Yeah.
So what they value in... I'm not trying to say, for those of you listening, that ASU is going to be ranked next week. By no means am I saying... I don't think they're going to be in the top 25. I don't think you put a 5-3 team in the top 25 yet.
Yeah, not like this. Not this team.
You maybe put
it's like an Ohio State type team.
Yeah,
maybe
you maybe put a
like
6-3 team in the top 25. You maybe put I think you definitely put a 7-3 team in the top 25.
Especially with the team, if ASU could be 7-3 with these wins, you can't not put them in the rankings.
Yes,
I think the Utah game was a hump game. And I think this SC game is almost on the same level. The only difference is it's at home, but the line is only SC by 3.
yeah.
Right?
It's finally a line that makes sense. Utah was favored by 10, and I mean, USC is a ranked team, but they finally are giving ASU the benefit of the doubt, and they've made a more reasonable line. It's been ridiculous. I know Washington was obviously the team that was supposed to blow us out, and Stanford the same, but I feel like ASU is competitive enough that this line makes sense. And USC, it's going to be a close game.
And people thought that Utah game could be not even a trap game for them, but a trap game for us, because it would have also just said, "Oh, fluke game versus Washington."
Right.
You come in and to their house and knock them around, win by 20 points. Yeah. That's huge.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna move on. But and let's touch on something too. Just get it out of the way, I suppose. Not get it out of the way, but we live here in Arizona, And
Yes, we
other
do.
than the college football teams right now, Arizona sports are hurting
So
big time.
bad.
D-backs lost. They got swept by the Dodgers. The soccer team here, Phoenix Rising, lost in the first round of the playoffs this past weekend. The Suns look awful.
Oh, horrible.
God.
And the Cardinals lost Carson Palmer for the season, and the Coyotes look terrible.
Well, for Palmer, is it the season? I thought it was 4 to 6 weeks is like his time. Well, I know that.
It's a broken arm.
Yeah, I know, and he's having the surgery.
And how
already.
old he is, they're gonna shut him
I
down.
don't
Okay,
think
then my question
the
for
Cardinals
you guys.
just signed Mike Bercovici.
Yeah, but the question is, do they, after
Forks
this
up.
bye week, do they start Drew Stanton or Blaine Gabbert?
I think you got to go Drew Stanton.
I like Gabbert.
They
I
put
would
him
go
honestly.
with Drew Stanton. He's
They,
been with
they
the
put him
system
in last
longer.
week, and yeah, he's been in the system for so long. I think you gotta not even just owe it to him. I think he's deserved it.
But
Yeah.
how he played against the Rams, I know they were already down at that point, like 26-0.
But you have to think
The
about
Rams
that
defense is
situation.
also really good.
You have to think about that situation they also put him in. You're not expecting.
It's like a Brett Hundley thing.
But
Yeah.
Brett Hundley went in and he scored points for his team.
Not
He-
really. He threw 3 picks in that first game.
He's still-
and
He
didn't
got
look great last week either.
smoked by the Saints defense last week.
They managed.
The Saints
They've
defense
managed
is not good
points
either.
after
No, they're
Rodgers
not
got
good.
hurt, though, and Stanton produced absolutely nothing. And I know AP is going to be the one that they're going to rely on now that
That's a
they've
bummer.
lost their,
Yeah, I know.
their passing game, and David Johnson is still obviously hurt. But I think they're going to need someone who can score, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start Stanton
But Blaine
and only
Gabbert's
give
not
him
that guy.
one half.
It's not Blaine Gabbert.
Come on, Gabbert did fine with the Niners last year. I know he beat out Kaepernick for the job, and he was
Dude,
he was
it's
a
Blaine
starting
Gabbert.
Yeah,
Let's remember it's Blaine Gabbert here.
well, you guys.
I
are
didn't mean to turn this into a
pro Drew
tirade about the
Stanton.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to make a comment on how bad Arizona sports is right now.
Right.
Other than the college football teams.
And not even the Cardinals, but the Suns.
Suns.
They fired their
my
head
gosh.
coach after 3 games. I mean, Earl Watson, yeah, he was the interim coach last year. Didn't really do much, but he was kind of a lackluster roster that they still have.
Shocking.
But they
though.
got blown out in the first 3 games.
no
They
against
just
the
don't play
Lakers. It
defense.
was close. It was a close.
They
game
don't play
against the
defense.
Lakers. Yeah.
That's what it is. They don't play defense.
And now they've already got one of their best players asking to be traded via Twitter.
Luckily,
A little embarrassing for
It
a,
was-
for a franchise.
Not even. I think it's also kind of embarrassing for him. For those of you who don't know, Eric Bledsoe, he's a
point guard.
point guard for the Suns. He was at a barber shop this past weekend.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, that's what he
Allegedly.
said with his girlfriend, and he tweets, "I don't want to be here anymore." And the very next day, the Suns GM says, "We're moving forward without Bledsoe." And right
Yeah.
now, they're looking for trades for Eric Bledsoe. And even though he says that he was talking about how he didn't want to be at the barber shop anymore, I mean,
Yeah,
I would-
those tweets make sense. Yeah, that makes sense
it's
out of
such a-
context.
Yeah, it's a vague tweet, but like
I have a hard time believing it. But at the same time, I have no way of proving that I'm right.
Right.
So
No,
I don't know.
But
It just seemed a
you
little
could've
fishy. Just seemed a little weird.
lucky for all
But
this.
whoever gets Bledsoe, it's a good pickup for them.
Yeah,
and,
and he's
from
worth.
what I'm hearing is could be Milwaukee.
Ooh, that's
That
an
team's already
intriguing-
in.
Are we transferring to the NBA now?
Yes, let's transfer the
Oh
NBA. Screw
yes,
this. Yeah,
let's do it.
Transfer.
Let's do it.
Sure.
So now,
Yo, the Bucks look good.
So good.
and
Giannis.
no one looks better than Giannis.
Easily.
He's actually like we all knew, like we saw him last year. He's a freak, but he's a whole nother monster this year. He's not even, he's the Greek monster.
The Greek monster.
He's definitely up an echelon this year.
And I think right now he just came out with the front runner for the odds of the MVP.
Yeah,
and
he did spike
more,
to the top.
more deserving than anybody. If he does what he is doing currently, there's no stopping. Not even Giannis, but the Bucks. I mean, it's a really good team. They could come out be the number 2, or even sneak in as the number 1 seed in the East, like the Celtics did last year.
No,
yeah,
definitely.
but I agree with the 2 statement. I don't know if I agree with the 1 because I think Cleveland is still
Top team in the East.
top team in the East.
Even with
LeBron listed as their point guard today.
yeah,
Full of
because
legends.
because they don't have D Rose, they don't have Isaiah Thomas. They started Jose Calderon. Calderon,
Yeah, but LeBron can do anything, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
honestly.
He is 1 to 5 the best, but
easily.
that's still, let's not dog on the Bucks.
No,
here.
I like the Bucks a lot. I think
I think we saw last year. Everyone was like, "Oh, well, it's just going to be Warriors, Cavs again," which it was.
know-
But the Cavs weren't the number 1 seed in the East last year, so I'm saying
I still think that's supposed to be the finals this year.
Oh no, for
Yeah,
sure. It's
definitely.
going to be it's going to be Cavs Warriors.
Cavs are working it out.
we're kind of saying here with the talk about Milwaukee and all these other teams in the East is that I don't think the East is as bad as we thought they were going to, or not bad, but as lopsided perhaps as we thought it was going to be. I think.
No.
I remember. Did we do our NBA pre-show last week or the week before?
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, whatever it was. I think we were only talking about Boston and Cleveland being the front runners in the East, and now we're talking about hell. Even the Sixers looked okay.
Yeah.
No, and Washington.
And
Washington looks,
Sixers.
Oh, the Wizards looks good too.
yeah, they look outstanding.
John Wall is just a different point guard. He's electrifying. He can dunk on anyone. We saw that in the first game against the Sixers. But let's not forget about how good the Sixers have been. I know they're 1-3 right now, but they've looked very good in every game. They were hanging with the Wizards the whole time, and I think Brett Brown's process is actually coming to fruition this year.
Well, they got super lucky because Ben Simmons is as good as advertised. I know he sat out the whole season because he messed up his knee, but he looks as good as he should be as a number one draft pick. And I know Embiid has suffered injuries, but he looks good as well. I don't like that he talks so much. He always wants to get under people's skin, and he's always saying.
But that works for some people.
But he's only played 30 games in 3 years. He can't talk
then
like
where
that
where are the people going to shut him down? He hasn't really
Are
been.
you annoyed? Are you done listening to LeVar Ball?
Oh, I just.
What's the difference between LeVar and Joel? Is it just because one's a player and one's a dad? Like it's really
They're
it's,
one and the same to me.
yeah. I don't see much of a problem except that
They're both annoying sometimes. Sure.
And
Yeah, who cares?
And right now, despite the first game for Lonzo, both those two are proving it.
Yep.
Lonzo put up a triple double, and Embiid's been
near triple-double.
He's been very good.
One assist.
Okay, near, but he's been looking very good.
No, he has.
With the Sixers, and Ben Simmons is also doing good. Obviously, he's not a trash talker; he's very reserved.
Yeah.
But he had a triple double.
Yeah.
And now Fultz is kind of the question mark.
Yeah,
on that team.
that's exactly what I was thinking. They said that they drained his shoulder today, and he's been. So
he might be out for a couple games, and he's atrocious free throw shooter right now.
Well, they started the
okay.
season with him on the bench, and they're starting Jared Bayless.
Yeah, Jared Bayless.
And I don't know. I thought Fultz was going to headline this team, and I know Simmons and Embiid are obviously the two stars on it, but I thought Fultz was going to be a huge piece, especially after what Boston thought he was going to be coming into the draft.
But obviously, he's still a rookie, and they're trying to just work him into the process right now. And guys like Bayless, who's a veteran who can kind of get into that role a lot quicker, and TJ McConnell, who's been on that team for a while, knows what they're already doing. And TJ McConnell is also kind of a spark plug when he comes off the bench.
Yeah, he's done great. I mean, I think that it should be Fultz that's starting, but I like Bayless starting and Fultz kind of just being off the bench and developing.
I kind of want to talk about I know we're talking about the Eastern Conference, but I want to touch on the Western Conference real quick before we go to break here in 3 minutes. The Warriors are 2-2.
Jeez.
Yeah, they ran that opening game with the Rockets was a real good game, and that shows that the Rockets they're legit.
And when they get Chris Paul back too, I think they'll be even better. But the Clippers look good.
The Clippers do look good.
The Wolves look good.
Yep.
Minnesota boy.
The first game, I was very skeptical because Tom Thibodeau did not run one offensive play the entire game. It looked like pickup basketball to me against the Spurs, and
There's always a learning curve thing.
I was infuriated, really. But obviously, there's
82 games, but
there's three new starters on the team, and now that they're actually getting into Tibbs' offense, we saw. I think we all saw that buzzer beater for Wiggins at the end of the game. Obviously, that's not a drawn up play necessarily, but it shows that the Wolves are actually up to the challenge now. They can knock out one of the premier teams, not only in the NBA or in the West, but in the NBA, and the Thunder, who have assembled their big three. So I think
also
it's kind of up for grabs.
The Grizzlies are 3-0.
The Grizzlies are 3-0, and so are the Kawhi-less Spurs.
Yeah,
that's a surprise.
Mike
I like what they've
is
done
a good
so far.
basketball player.
Yeah, he's worth the money.
He's getting that money.
Yeah, but everyone just destroyed him for that contract, but he's worth it. He's a quality starting point guard. And
It'd be interesting to see how the Grizzlies can keep this up.
All that proves to me with the Grizzlies and Spurs and all these teams that the West is just going to be so full this year,
so competitive,
and that it's in the past few years, what I've noticed is that in both conferences as well, sort of the bottom of the playoff teams, like teams 6, 7, 8, are under 500 sometimes. And I think
especially in the East,
in the East, but even sometimes in the West over the past years, I firmly believe that the 8 teams that come into the playoffs for the Western Conference will all be above 500. They're all going to be very competitive teams. And I think that's good in in a league that kind of lost some parity over the past few years, and they're kind of gaining it back a little bit. We're talking about the Bucks and the emergence of them, and the Sixers and the Wizards and the Grizzlies and the Jazz, and even the Nuggets aren't that bad. I think it's proving to, at least what I've noticed, especially the first week of the season, is that there's a lot more parity than maybe there has been in the past few years, and I think it's a good thing.
No, that's great for the NBA. I mean, the better all these teams are, expanding some of these markets. Where maybe you've been living in the franchise that hasn't been the greatest, like especially in the Midwest, these Minnesota, Milwaukee, and then Denver, who's they've been all right, but they've always kind of had great teams. But obviously, Melo never won finals. But now a lot of these teams can start making pushes, and it's really good for the NBA. When right now we can still assume that it's going to be Cavs Warriors.
Yeah,
but
the playoffs are going to be
all these teams are going to be in it right now.
Yeah,
there's not besides this.
It'll be an entertaining season, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I think we're trying to say here.
Every team's kind of got some sort of highlight on their team right now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Alrighty.
Maybe besides the Suns. But.
Hey, Devin Booker. Yeah, just got to put your faith in him.
Step it up, D-Book.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk NFL. Adam's going to leave us here soon, but we'll try and get some NFL and World Series talk in before he has to go. But we'll be back in 60 seconds. You're listening to Bottom of the Six on Blaze Radio.
You want some country music in your life, and we got it for you. Blaze Radio's premier country music show, Blazing Saddles, is back for a whole new semester.
From the big stars to the up-and-comers, we have all of your favorite tunes.
Join Steven Onoveros, Blaine McCormick, and Alex Ellis live from the Bill Austin Radio Studio as they bring you throwbacks at 3:30, in-studio interviews, and a whole lot more.
Wednesdays, 3 to 4 on your local student station, BlazeRadioOnline.com.
Cronkite Theater is a science fiction anthology series. Season 2 tells the exciting tale of Camila, a girl making her way from Bolivia to New York City on her own. Along the way, she meets ghosts from her family's past and learns things she never thought possible about herself and her history. Tune in every Monday at 3 p.m. to hear her exciting saga, only on BlazeRadioOnline.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to Bottom of the Sixth here on Blaze Radio Online. You're joining Nicholas Welter, Adam Noel, and Jackson Nelson here in the Bill Austin Radio Studio. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL, we're talking World Series first because Adam's going to leave and his Dodgers are playing right now.
Los Dodgers.
Bottom of the fifth right now. Dodgers are tied with the Houston Astros 1-1, but it started off very first pitch, leadoff home run, Chris Taylor, very first pitch of the World Series this year. But my man, Alex Bregman, Albuquerque born, went to my high school, Albuquerque Academy, homered off of Clayton Kershaw in the fourth. So he broke my heart.
So what you're saying is if anyone in Houston was going to knock the Dodgers out, you'd like it to be Bregman.
Yeah, if it was anyone, but it still makes me sad. I hate this. He's my guy, and he's hurting my team.
It's 1-1, bottom of fifth right now, 1 out, nobody on. I think this is gonna be a great World Series.
Oh, yeah, outstanding.
It's weird though because Houston for years I've known them as an NL team.
Yeah, it is kind of
that is weird,
but whatever. I mean, they wanted to balance out the leagues, and I have no problem with that. But I think it's gonna be a great World Series. Keuchel kind of looked. I watched the first couple innings. Keuchel looked like he was a little rattled after that home run, but I think he's really settled in. And
Kershaw looked outstanding. I thought so far he's 9 strikeouts, 2 hits, 1 obviously being the home run, but through 5, he definitely looks like regular season Clayton Kershaw, not postseason Clayton Kershaw.
So
go ahead.
I just kind of want to, because he's got to get out of here. What do you guys? I'm going to leave this to you guys. So, how many games do you see this World Series going?
6. Dodgers in 6.
I think this has got to go 7.
Ooh,
I think both these teams are very good at home. Obviously, the Astros are phenomenal at home. And
they haven't lost a game at home yet.
And the Dodgers they won so many games this season. And just in general, they've got a great ball club, the great lineup, and great pitching. I think it's really just going to come down to home field advantage. I think if someone can steal one game on the road, that's who's going to win.
Definitely. And I like that Corey Seager's back. That's a big big plus, and they left Curtis Granderson off the roster with how bad he's been since the Dodgers got him. I'm happy. Kike Hernandez, tear it up. I'm really happy.
Nice.
All right, and I'm going to head out, you guys. It was good.
All right, man.
Good show.
Bye.
I have to leave a little early this
Adam's
week.
leaving us, guys. He's got to catch
Have a good
bus
show.
to Tempe.
Yep.
Thanks, man. All right.
Later.
He was on mic 3, I think. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Okay, just making sure I didn't turn your mic off.
Oh no, I'm here. Hi everyone.
Okay, good. So I guess you can keep talking about the World Series a little bit. And Jackson, you and I were talking a little bit before the show started, and your opinion of the LA sports market.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
You are one of many who does not like the LA sports market, but tell me why.
I think it's just one of those cities where there's too many people. You know, like New York. I think New York.
It's different in New York.
It's different in New York because I think it's more ingrained into them. They feel like they're
East
a part
Coast-
of the team.
East Coast.
And the West, I've been to a playoff Dodgers game. I was at the NLCS game last year versus the Cubs.
Okay.
Again, and where Addison Russell had a huge home run in the 8th, I believe. But a lot of the fans have already left by then because I think in LA, not Anaheim, obviously. I think it's a little different.
I kind of steered you away from lumping the Ducks and the Angels into that.
But I think it's more of just a social event for them instead of
Absolutely.
it being like their team and they're gonna be off their phones. They got all their Dodger blue on, or they got their Kings, like maybe their throwback purple jersey, or their Lakers jerseys on. I've also been to a Lakers game on Christmas, and there's just something about LA sports where it just feels like they don't really care. It's just kind of a fun time. Oh, maybe you'll see the celebrities like Larry King sitting behind home plate tonight for the Dodgers. It's like you just see someone cool, but you're not really caring about the team. Like you're not going to be beat up if your team if the Dodgers lose this World Series.
I'll compare that to just a few like when the Kings won the Stanley Cup twice in 3 years, you like wouldn't have even known.
Yeah,
Really. I mean, I'm not from LA. I'm from Orange County, which is why I also have my own opinions about the LA sports market. But I will say though that I was watching the first few innings today, and it seems there's not an empty seat in Dodger Stadium, but I've never been to a playoff game there. One of my best friends is a Dodger fan, and he's ecstatic over them. So, but I think you're right. I think it generally, as a whole, maybe, I'm generalizing. I think you're right. I think there's a lot to do in LA, and not everybody there is a sports oriented. It's not like a college town.
Yeah, right.
It's not a town where the professional sports. It's not like Green Bay.
Yeah, it's a big town that just happens to have sports. It's not a sports town that people just happen to live in.
It's just right. There's a lot of people live there, and you can make a lot of money having a sports franchise in Los Angeles. The NFL is trying. We've seen that.
Yeah.
But
No
no one cares about
really
the Chargers, and I've done my rant on them.
Yeah.
But
I think the thing is when you're watching, if like you're watching the Dodgers game right now, just listen to when something good happens for the Dodgers, and then wait for the series to head to Houston, and just see the difference if Evan Gattis hits a home run like he did in Game 7, opposed to Chris Taylor's leadoff home run today. I was watching the game, and it was like, yeah, it's a home run, but it's like it could have been game.
And they were cheering.
It was cheering, but it could have been Game 60 of the season, and I wouldn't have known the difference.
okay.
But like last year when it was Cubs and Indians, the TV was deafening. Like you couldn't hear Joe Buck talking during the game.
The ratings for last year's World Series were also amazing. A lot of people tuned in last year.
And I think we're going to see this year a steady drop off.
Yeah.
People are going to rally around Houston, but it's the Angels. It's like, hey, they're our team, I guess.
The Angels.
I mean the Dodgers. Like
the Angels are not in the World Series.
No, they won't be for a while.
Makes me sad.
But I think it's something completely different. Even the wild cards games this year, like in New York, New York is hot. Like
the Yankee Stadium was loud.
I think the Yankees perhaps could be one of the best fans in the MLB. I think Cleveland is really good because they've been hot lately. I would like to see how it is again when they're kind of a bad team.
New York also hasn't had much to cheer about lately.
Right.
Because their football teams are terrible, the Mets are terrible, their hockey teams are terrible.
The Rangers are terrible. They're 1-6 this year.
Their basketball teams are terrible. So the Yankees have given them kind of something to cheer for. And
but
Aaron
even
Judge is a good story.
even when the Mets were in the NLCS, they filled up every seat and people were cheering.
But I think it goes back to your point. It's a difference in sports town culture, different in the town as well. LA is just a very passive sports town.
Yeah,
unless you're winning, they don't really care.
Exactly.
If you're not from there, they don't really, like.
There's some teams I think the biggest one is in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Chiefs can go 2-14, and you couldn't tell the difference before the game than if they were 15-1, or like if they're playing as well as they are now, because people are going to fill up Arrowhead and they're going to tailgate before the games, and they're going to show up with their faces painted red. You're not going to get that in Los Angeles.
No, you don't.
You can travel.
Well, maybe when the Raiders are in town.
Yeah, but I was just about to bring up the Raiders. You could travel north to Oakland, and you see the guys with the spikes on their shoulder pads looking like Hawk and Animal back in the day.
Yep.
And it's just a different feel. So I don't think it's necessarily a California thing being
it's a Southern
big markets everywhere.
Not even a Southern California.
Exactly, because I don't think it's even a San Diego thing.
No.
I think it's just that kind of area where there's just so much other stuff that they would rather be doing.
Yeah.
And sports is just kind of another thing that they can occupy their time with, but it's not. You won't get pissed.
Yeah.
Your best team, like when I saw Blair Walsh shank one from the right hash, 27 yards at TCF Bank Stadium.
Did you throw the remote at the TV?
I didn't have time to because I was laying on the ground crying.
Yeah.
It's just something. Maybe it's a small market thing. Maybe it's because I come from the Midwest where it's just like people assume that's all we have, which isn't true. But for the sake of the argument, let's just say that's all we got.
Maybe it just means more.
Yeah, I don't understand.
It's a culture thing.
Maybe it's because there's a lot of people in that area that didn't grow up there. Because a lot of people try to make it out and like, I want to go to LA and that's where I want to make it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. I think there's no excuse for LA not to be like New York, because they can't say it's a big city because New York's the biggest city.
Yeah, LA's half the size of New York.
Yeah.
And I think you're right though. And I'm a California kid. I'm from Orange County. And so I would say that it would be wrong to lump San Diego and Orange County into that passive kind of fandom as well. When the Chargers were in San Diego, Charger fandom is rabid.
No, yeah, they filled up Qualcomm.
Not so much for the Padres, but the
that's
Padres
because
also
the Padres
haven't been good in a few
horrendous.
years. Right.
Yeah. Like when Tony Gwynn was there, you watch old highlights of Tony Gwynn. I don't think it was Petco back then.
They played at Qualcomm.
They played baseball there. Okay, yeah, but
that was originally a baseball field.
But they were filling it up.
Right.
So I don't. Yeah, we were saying there's just no excuse.
And the same thing is in Orange County right now. The Angels aren't very good, but you still get fans of the game because of Mike Trout.
But even when they were in the playoffs with Mike Trout, it was a wild card game, and I believe they lost the last wild card game they were in.
No, they were the best team in baseball in 2014, and they got swept by the Royals. But the stadium was full.
Right. Yeah. And
the Ducks have been really good for the past 5 years, and
they just couldn't make that last playoff push.
But postseason hockey in Orange County, the Ducks thing is painted orange. The entire county's painted orange.
Yeah.
Everyone gets all the Duck flags come out, like it's just a playoff thing. So the Ducks fandom is real, and
it's I like seeing that. I like hockey being all around instead of just being like a northern thing. I would love for hockey to be becoming just a bigger sport, and it takes time. But I think now we're seeing again a team like you're saying Anaheim or Dallas. When Dallas is in the playoffs, it's a really good environment. It's hard to play there.
Right.
So I love how the sport is expanding. So seeing something like in Anaheim when they're in the playoffs and everything's painted orange, more people are kind of getting the sport in their mind and becoming more hockey fans instead of saying like, oh, have you seen a hockey game before?
I just brought that up because I didn't want to make it seem like we were lumping San Diego.
I would not love to besmirch the good people of San Diego and Anaheim.
Or Orange County. Yeah. Speaking of hockey, we don't get to talk about hockey much on this show, you and me.
Let's do it.
So since it's just you and me, and we got about 10, 15 minutes left, let's move on to hockey. A lot of surprising things going on in the NHL right now.
I think no one's got to be more surprising than Jersey.
I would agree with that. The Jersey had the number 1 overall pick this year, and they were awful last year. Just awful, but their youth is really good,
and I think the youth is good all over in NHL.
I was going to transfer to that.
I think we're seeing guys like McDavid, who's already been an MVP, and he's 20.
Yeah, he's like my age.
Yeah, so I think it's the youth in hockey is becoming something I think they might be kind of taking over than like the veterans. You're seeing kind of some guys fall to the
Right.
wayside. You see Ovechkin is not kind of your headline guy anymore.
Although he's having a great year.
Yeah, but I think right now, if you're a kid just getting introduced to hockey,
The next generation is here.
Yeah.
Is what I think
right.
what you're trying to say.
so they're kind of out with the old and in with the new.
Austin Matthews, Arizona's own. The Maple Leafs are, I think, the second best team in hockey right now. Yeah, with 14 points. Yeah, they're right behind Tampa Bay. But the Maple Leafs are great.
And yeah, they're a good team, and Austin Matthews is kind of like the headliner for that guy. He's a freak. I mean,
Yeah.
McDavid's good. Even a younger guy like Eichel is really
Yeah.
good. He was really good at college at BU, and now he's come into the league and he's a scoring machine. And McDavid is a points machine. He's not just scoring goals, but he's really good at getting assists. He'll probably, I think, lead the NHL in points again
Right.
this year. And
There's just a lot
people
of
are kind
good
of calling him
athletes getting into
the
hockey.
new great one. I think
McDavid?
yeah. Do you think that's an overstep?
Maybe
Maybe right now.
he's the next Crosby for sure.
I'd agree with that.
He's definitely the next. He is this generation's Crosby, and Crosby is that generation's Gretzky.
Yeah, and Crosby's still winning. So
Right.
I think Eichel could, if he stays in Edmonton or no matter where
Eichel's
he
in
goes.
Buffalo.
I mean,
McDavid
in Edmonton.
Well, he just signed that 8-year deal. I think it was 8 years.
8 years. How many million? How many hundreds?
More than me.
Yeah.
More than my self worth.
Yeah.
Let's
We'll go with that.
Yeah. But another big surprise for me, I touch back on that one more thing. I think the youth in hockey, I think there's a lot of great development in the sport in this country. I think a lot more people are getting involved in hockey. I think the youth development is great. The minor leagues are great.
And because teams are getting more credibility, not even
Right.
just around the country.
and in Canada, and I think a lot of talent is coming to America because NHL's the best league to play in. If you're going to play hockey professionally, that's where you want to be.
Right.
I think that just the growth of the sport, which is weird to say because it's still a big four in America.
Exactly.
But it's even getting bigger. And I hate to go back to the NFL a little bit, but I think with the not the demise of the NFL, but the fall in popularity because of how
it's run,
damaging it
and
can be,
the
and-
rules that they have,
Right.
and the studies that are coming out saying how bad it is for the players.
kids are playing other sports. And I think
I wouldn't play football anymore. I wouldn't have.
Me neither.
If I had kids, I would not let them play football.
No, me neither.
I stopped playing football because I got crushed when I was 11. I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Especially now, and
let them play the second roughest sport, lacrosse or hockey.
there's only so many just massive kids that don't have to worry about getting laid out in the middle of a football game.
Right.
So I
Hockey's
think,
a rough sport,
Yeah.
but
there's rules now. Like you
tougher too.
can't hit from behind.
Right.
That's a rule everywhere. You won't play in a hockey league as a youth without having one of the stop signs on the back of your jersey.
Right.
That says you can't check from the back. So they're making the sport safer, but I don't think it's damaging the sport
No.
like some of the rules that they're putting in the NFL.
Right. I think you're right. I think the youth development of hockey is what's leading to the popularity of it, and it's reason why we get to have an expansion franchise like the Knights,
Who are killing
doing,
it.
who are doing really well. I don't think that'll last personally. I think it's eventually going to catch up to them. Without Fleury, I don't think that team is much.
Yeah.
Fleury was really, to me, the reason why they were winning those early games. They weren't scoring many goals, but Fleury was keeping them in games.
Fleury's just being a wall.
So, but that speaks to the fact that we're not having relocated teams in the NHL. We're getting expansion teams, which I think is important.
Right.
And
Because if you lose a franchise, even like in the NBA, we saw Seattle, the Supersonics, leaving OKC.
Yeah.
And we know kids from kind of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And
they want the
don't-
Sonics to come back.
They don't care about basketball unless they get the Sonics back.
I'm all for new teams in all the sports. Sometimes I think it can be dangerous because it kind of dilutes the talent sometimes.
Right.
When you have it so spread thin, it doesn't. There's almost too much parity.
So do you think 32 or 30 is kind of the perfect number for each sport, or how many? What do you think is the max?
Maybe.
that each sport can have.
Here's the thing. If this was Europe, it would be promotion relegation, and you could have 40. You could have
Right.
You could have 50, 60 because they're on 3 different levels. But that just doesn't work in this country because you can't pique the interest of if the Ducks were a second tier team, I probably wouldn't care as much because they're not on the top level.
Right. It's like being a fan of a minor league team.
But yeah,
essentially.
but keeping that in mind, yeah, I think 30, 31, 32 is probably just right. And for soccer, it can get bigger. in this country, especially.
Oh, for sure.
I think MLS could expand and get that promotion relegation kind of stuff going on, and they could have even more professional teams. But if we're talking just hockey, basketball, I think 30, 31, 32 is fine, and because then the second tier market towns can be the minor league towns,
Right.
And not that the NFL will ever have a minor league, but Kansas City has a hockey team. They have an AHL team, and I think that is they're a perfect sized AHL town. San Diego is an AHL town,
and Kansas City would be a good market because their fans are amazing there.
Right.
The Royals and the Chiefs could have one of the best fan bases in the country. The Royals had how many guys in the All-Star game just because their fans went out and voted 100 times. And the Chiefs, they fill up Arrowhead and tailgate. They have the best tailgating kind of crew of any football team.
Right.
I think it's kind of a no-brainer actually to bring another team in the kind of the Midwest area.
Yeah.
Because they'll get fans, and people, I think, know the sport because they have a minor league team already.
You just gotta be smart when it comes to not relocate. I despise relocation.
Yeah, I
absolutely hate it, and I have a personal bias against that because of the Chargers moving from San Diego to LA. But you have to be smart about where you put your new franchises. You want them to succeed, and I think Vegas is going to be a home run.
Yeah,
I think, not to be a baseball term to a hockey team, but I think it's going to be a splash. I think it's going to work out really well. Now, it's interesting because the other candidates were Quebec City and Seattle, and I think a hockey team would work there as well, in both those towns as well.
And Seattle also has great fan bases with the Sounders and the Seahawks, and the Mariners.
And if hockey wanted to go to 33, I think it depends on the circumstances, but as long as it was going to work out for everybody and it was going to make financial sense and competitive sense, then I'm all for it. I don't see a problem with it in the slightest.
No, and I think right now, if they're going to get expansion teams, I think they could go in sets of 2 to put one on maybe the East and one on the West to kind of even.
You're talking NHL?
Yes.
I think the next move for me personally, if I was Bettman, bring in Quebec City, bring the Nordiques back, move Detroit back to the Central, so you can get that Detroit, Chicago, all those rivalries back, and then you have 4 divisions of 8.
And I think
that's what I would do.
I think that'd be a good idea. I've heard kind of rumors about the NBA switching up their formats if they're going to get another team to kind of
consolidating to 4 divisions instead of 6.
Yeah.
The MLB might do that too. I don't know if you read or heard this, but I think it was Bleacher Report that wrote an article that said Manfred confirmed that the 2 cities on the top of his list for expansion would be Montreal and Portland.
I'd be kind of skeptical going back to a place where a team has, quote, failed in Montreal.
But
we saw was it last year or 2 years ago where they had a game in Montreal? Maybe it was just a one-off and that's why everyone was there.
2 games and there's 80,000 people at both games.
Yeah, so I'm saying if they could get a team back and kind of keep it there, and Montreal they had to play their last 2 seasons they had to play a bunch of games in Puerto Rico for some reason. I don't know why that.
I forget who the owner was at that time
necessarily, but I think if it's all about ownership. I think, and it's all about promotion. If you can get people to fill up seats, I don't think it really matters.
Get a good ownership group, then it'd be fine.
I don't think it matters where necessarily you put the team, because if it's a good ownership, they know where the hot spots is.
The city's got to be viable as well, and I think Portland would be a great baseball town. But they were talking about, okay, that brings the MLB total up to 32. What would you do for divisions? Well, we would make it just an American League East and West. Oh,
you're right. I did see
and
this.
And a National League
and then they'd
East
have
West.
4 wild card games.
Correct. The top 2 teams would
the top 2 teams from each division.
Division winners, and then 4 teams after that.
Yes.
It'd be kind of a run like the NFL playoffs. And I think the NFL should consolidate to 2 divisions on each side as well.
Why aren't we commissioners? We can do it.
Yeah, I should be commissioner. I'm 20, and I know more about money and things.
I mean, we have a microphone in front of us. We obviously do something.
Of course.
We do something right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I don't. I just think it's funny that they're talking about all this consolidation from 6 divisions or 8 divisions down to 4, because that's what the NHL did 4 years ago, and it's worked out beautifully. The NHL playoffs are awesome. The way they're structured, I think it's great. So expansion is all about ownership to me. It's all about making sure that it's a viable city. And I think, like you're talking about, we kind of got off tangent here from talking about hockey, but the Vegas, I think that was a smart move.
Yeah, and I think it's wherever the money's at. And I think if the team's playing well, the money will come in, and I think the Vegas has a good ownership.
Right. And if more teams want to go to Vegas, I'm all for it. But I just prefer if it was an expansion team.
Right, correct.
Because I'm from a fan base that knows what it's like to lose a team, and it's pretty awful. And so
I don't wish that upon anybody.
Right. Even I even feel bad for the people of Oakland losing the Raiders, and I'm not a Raiders fan in the slightest. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Talking about relocation, moving on here to our last. One of our last segments of the day, we had to kind of went on that one a little bit long, but that's okay.
A little bit. We're all right.
We didn't really talk about the NFL, but
Yeah.
I think that's all right too.
Yeah.
The MLS is going to announce 2 new franchises at the end of this year, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. The Columbus Crew are threatening to leave Columbus and move to Austin, Texas,
Why?
because the owner wants a new downtown stadium in Columbus, and if he doesn't get it, he's leaving.
Is there room in Columbus for? I feel like there has to be, right?
There is, and 60 Columbus businessmen are trying to get together to save the Crew. But I just think it's sad that this is what American sports is.
It's owners getting greedy.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
We saw that kind of with Seattle when they went to OKC.
You saw that with Dean Spanos and the Chargers.
They kind of just pulled the rug out of the city, and because they don't think about their fans really. They're just thinking about kind of the business, but it's the fans that kind of made these teams viable and fun to watch. So
I never thought I'd see this in soccer. I bring it up because I never thought I'd see soccer do this, because that's just not in Europe. This doesn't happen.
Oh, it would never happen in Europe.
In world soccer, not even just in Europe. In world soccer, this doesn't happen.
So this is just. I think this is an American thing.
It's absolutely
Typical
an American thing.
greed.
It's absolutely an American thing, and it's just sad to me.
And especially the Crew, they've been in Columbus for 20 plus years.
They're an original club.
Yeah.
They are the original MLS teams.
So that's. I'm not gonna. You know what? I will say it. I'll say it's kind of like the Blackhawks relocating, because it's like an original team. I know hockey is maybe more prestigious than the MLS.
Yeah, and the
but
Hawks will never leave.
It's kind of the same principle. It's kind of the same principle, right?
It is the same principle. It's not as rich because the Crew they're old, but in American sports franchise terms, they're still a baby, because MLS is still a baby. But yeah, it'd be like that, or it'd be like, it's kind of like when the Dodgers left Brooklyn and the Giants left New York for California. It'd be like that. It just doesn't seem right, and now it's whatever, because it's been 50 years since 60 years, 70 years.
And I wonder what the appeal to Austin is necessarily, because
They'll build them a stadium.
So what about like San Antonio? I don't believe has a soccer team.
They do.
They do?
Yeah, second tier team.
How many?
They're owned by the Spurs
do
group.
Do all of like the big teams in Texas? Is this like kind of like the last place to go? Or
For MLS?
Yeah,
No.
because like I know there's the Dynamo in Houston.
And FC Dallas in Dallas. But that's it. So San Antonio is actually one of the 12 cities that's bidding for an expansion teams, and then Austin's not. But
So Austin's just banking on this necessarily?
theoretically, yeah.
Okay.
Their second tier club kind of went under last year, and so they're revamping it. But if they can get the Columbus Crew to come there, but I only say that because then Columbus throws their name in the hat for next year, for an expansion team, because they're clearly an MLS town, and it's not because they're not getting attendance or there's no support for them, because there clearly is. It's just bad ownership. And he bought this team, and the owner of the Crew bought him in 2013 with this intention to move them, which is just like sad to me. But no.
Yeah, I don't understand.
But Texas is not the last place for MLS, not by any means.
Yeah.
Sacramento, Cincinnati, Raleigh, North Carolina.
And Sacramento is a good fan base. We saw how they kept the Kings in Sacramento, because everyone kind of wanted to leave there, but people kind of came together and brought them to stay in Sacramento. So I think that would be a good place for a soccer team to go.
And of the 12 that are bidding, then 2 of them are going to get rewarded at the end of the year. I think the 2 are going to be Cincinnati and Sacramento. They have the best fan bases by far.
That's quite possible.
And it's kind of cool, because we were talking about those second tier towns being like in America being minor league towns, but in MLS or in soccer in general, any second tier or first tier town can be a professional sports town when it comes to soccer, because of you have that relegation promotion system.
Kind of like Phoenix. We got a tier 2 team.
They do have a tier 2 team, and Phoenix is one of the cities bidding for the end of the year, but I don't know if they're going to get it.
So then with that happening, if for some reason Phoenix got that team, what would happen to the Rising? Would they?
Oh, it's the Rising group that is bidding for it. So Rising would just become an MLS team.
So is that kind of then what happened in Minneapolis, where the Loons were tier 2 and then come up to tier 1?
That's exactly what happened in Minnesota.
Well, there you go.
And yeah, so that's one of the cases where a pre-existing team bids to become. That's how it works in MLS. You can't get into MLS unless you have money. You can't win your way into MLS.
Yeah.
Which is how you can win your way into the top leagues in Europe and in the rest of the world. But you either have an expansion franchise like Atlanta or New York City, or you have a pre-existing club that buys their way in, like Orlando and Minnesota. So it's just, I wanted to bring that up because I think it's sad that Columbus might lose their team at the end of next year, but there's nothing, it's just the way American sports and American business, sports are a business. We have to remind that it's all fun and games. And
I wonder if that's a huge saying in Europe. Sports is a business.
It's about, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, it's sports is a business in America, and it's all about for the owners. It's which way can I make more money? There's not a lot of loyalty,
Right.
When it comes to the town, which is what I think is sad. All right, we have gone a little over today.
Don't tell anybody.
50-minute show. Shh, don't tell anyone. But thank you for joining us here on Bottom of the Sixth on Blaze Radio Online. I'm Nicholas Welter signing off for Jackson Nelson and Adam Noel, who left us a little bit ago. But next week, join us at the same time, 6 o'clock. And thanks for listening. See you next time.
Bye.